Good evening, everyone. This is the October 23rd meeting of the City of Revere Zoning Subcommittee on billboards. And we're here today with Ron Champeau of the Beautification Committee, Councilor of Ward 1, Joanne McKenna, Council Vice President and Councilor of Ward 4, Councilor Patrick Keefe, Councilor of Ward 6, Charlie Patch, Frank Stringy from the City of Revere, Arthur Guanasso, Councilor of Ward 4, and Paul Capizzi with the City of Revere as well. Three. Oh my gosh. Sorry. And we're also joined by Councilor Ira Novoselsky of Ward 2. Good representation of all of our ward councilors today. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're here tonight to discuss amendments to our zoning ordinances for the City of Revere relative to billboards. This is something that Ron on the Beautification Committee has been working on tirelessly for many years, along with Councilor and former Mayor Bob Hass. This was something that was a legacy of him and something that he worked very diligently on the council that we're hoping we can continue to carry on. Ron, if you want to start with anything that you might.
Pick up? Okay. Again, this is a great opportunity for all of us. My hope, and I'll reiterate what Carol Haney had said, hopefully she'll be here shortly, from the Revere Beautification Committee. I think we should really be bold in what we want to do in the city, really change our whole thought process and solve the problem so we don't have to keep on dealing with this issue. I think it's solvable, easily solvable. So I think we should, just work together, and we can probably, hopefully, get this done shortly. One of the things I'd like to bring on, even before we begin, I think we need to set goals. When I was looking at the minutes of the meeting on television the other day, I noticed there were two goals in my mind. One was the issue around billboards itself, whether we should have any, whether we should prohibit, whether we should have, we should restrict. And the other issue is Councilor Guanasso's issue around addressing the issue of maintenance of these billboards and how badly they're not taken care of. But before I even do that, I'd like to present, this is the only study that I'm aware of that's on the internet dealing with the effects, the true effects of billboards on a community, the true cost of what a billboard is to the community, to the residents, the homeowners, how we lose value. So I'd like to pass this out to everybody if I could. Thank you. And I have spoken to the writer of the study, and I believe Seth Daniel has also spoken to the writer of this committee. Okay. We have plenty of time to read that outside the meeting. Yeah.
And do you have an electronic copy of it as well that you can email me?
You can get it online.
Okay.
In fact, I know Steve Morabito has a copy of the study.
Did you?
Did you?
Have to look it up.
Right.
Can you email it to me, Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So email Steve?
Yeah.
I agree 100%, and I think perhaps maybe we should start by looking at what our current ordinance is and see what we need to add, change, remove, what features are missing. I think these are pretty big, so they should pick up.
Yeah,
like, this should
if you put that on, I think that's great.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
We're good.
Okay, as last meeting, I kind of summarized what we had on the books for regulations of billboards. And I had some basic thoughts a while ago on how to amend our billboard ordinance and going a little step further in regulating digital signage throughout the city. And not just for billboards, but digital signage for businesses popping up everywhere throughout the city, in our general business districts, central business districts, highway business districts. So, I mean, a couple of quick thoughts for me. I mean, it could be a very simple process in amending our zoning ordinance. Right now, our zoning allows billboards by special permit of the city council in the general business district, central business district, limited industrial, industrial park, highway business, and TED district. The problem areas are basically the general business, central business, limited industrial park, and highway business, because they're all abutting residential areas. you always have that confrontation between residential and commercial uses in the city. So we try to do what we can to abate those issues. One way to do it, and I think Councilor Guanasso even mentioned it at the last meeting, is allow billboards only by special permit in one district, in the TED district, and by strict guidelines only. Right now, we have a number of guidelines of minimum distance between billboards and other billboards and public ways in residential areas and uses, and that's 300 feet from any residential use or residential district. And if you apply that to the TE district, there's only so many areas that billboards could qualify to even apply for a special permit before the city council. So that's one avenue we could take that would really restrict any future billboards coming into the city. The other one is creating a new ordinance regulating digital signage, animated parts on signs, flashing lights on signs. Again, they're very disruptive and corruptive to residential areas. One thought that I had that I want to present to the committee is to allow digital signs only by special permit in a highway business and TED district, and with the condition that no digital sign be located closer than 300 feet from any residential district or any residential use. So those are two basic zoning amendments that would go a long way in regulating signage in the city, digital signs and billboards. So,
Just if I can, one thing I think we have to realize too, I don't know if it's in the ordinance, the definition of a billboard. Because not only do we have these big giant billboards on the highways, you have these smaller, they may be accessory use type things like some of the car washes, and people have them on the side of their buildings that could be bothering residentials. I think we have to define the two types of potential signage. Of
they are
billboards.
defined, definitely. Billboards are considered standing signs. If you look in our ordinance, standing sign is a billboard. What you're talking about is accessory standing signs, those signs that are accessory only in nature to a business, on the property of the business, and advertising for that business. So you have standing accessory signs that are allowed for businesses, as well as attached signs. And billboards can be located not on the site of where the business is conducted, but anywhere in the city, in any of these districts. And those are the most intrusive
Right.
ones.
I know it's another kind of a little set aside, but I think these accessory uses, because now people are not using it for their own business. They're using it to rent space to other potential businesses, even politicians, if you want to say. So it's not only their sign, like, there's a car wash in the city, and they show other businesses and other items for sale other than their product. So I think that's something we should kind of look at, whether or not it should be in this package or not, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we're going to add language that would eliminate that kind of.
And they are freestanding, their signs are freestanding out towards the main street, or limit those to the size and how close to a residential, because I know one sign, it's across the street from a residential, and it brightens up, and they play it all night long. Maybe that's another thing we have to do, is put a time frame on it. So,
I totally appreciate that. From a business standpoint, we would want businesses to be able to advertise their business. Wouldn't that be a total separate issue when it comes to the sign ordinance that we have as a city, or whether or not that? We're talking about billboards. If we start getting this sign, we're going to never get to the end of the road of billboards. I think that would take a whole other conversation where business signage is under a whole other purview, and obviously you would have to look at it and making sure that businesses, any advertisements that they were using the digital and or just a standing sign, be used for their purpose only, not for outside businesses. But I think we're kind of getting into two different subjects, it's my opinion, where if we're going to attack the billboard issue in a reasonable time, we should stick to the billboards. And if a sign, let's just say a car wash or wherever it may be, or on the highway, on Wheeler Beach Parkway, etc., they should be advertising for their business, and we would expect that it may come before the city, the
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, we can take that up separately, digital signs.
That's okay.
Separate, and just concentrate on the billboards,
There's
that's fine. That's what this
extensive
committee
amount,
wishes to do.
excuse me, extensive amount of writing dealing ordinances in this state, dealing with the issues that
I
you're
was just gonna
talking
say
about.
that, yeah.
So we can, actually, all you have to do is pull it up, redact it, and we've got it. It'll be easily accessible
Let
for
me
us.
ask you a question. Is there a way to eliminate some of these billboards? Because I know, are they paying the city to advertise? And is there a way to eliminate, like not renew their contracts or not renew their
Well,
license?
they're permitted by the Outdoor Advertising Board, so they have to get a license every year. And I remember years ago, Outdoor Advertising Board would send us a list of billboards that were up for new licenses. And I would always write a letter, this goes back to when George Colella was mayor, to the Outdoor Advertising Board, saying that if the billboard was non-conforming, we don't want the license renewed, we want it eliminated.
So is that something that we can talk to the licensing board about, maybe not
Well, yeah, it's a state agency, it's the Outdoor Advertising
I
Board.
don't think
massive
the license
public
commission has anything to do with
Talk to the
billboards.
state about it.
License commission doesn't have anything to do with
If we
billboards.
were to change the ordinance and change the wording, we could probably add that in, that if the billboard is non-conforming with their license, we would, state, renew, correct?
We can have our own ordinances in addition to the regulations in I think it's now called the Massachusetts Office of Outdoor
Outdoor advertising, yes.
MUA, I guess is
Yep.
the acronym. Instead of,
Moolah.
MUA, it's an Italian cow, MOOA.
I thought he said moolah.
So we can, the law, this is governed by Chapter 93, Section 29, which allows us to pass our own ordinances and bylaws regulating billboards, as long as it doesn't conflict or in any way is overruled by the actual statute. We have a lot of discretion here, I think, to do what we want in order to make it more aesthetically pleasing to the city, to not have all these, because we have like 60 or 70, what do we have, like 70 billboards in 4 square miles of cities. It's a lot of
It's a lot
billboards.
of them.
We have the most in the state.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak? This question is for the solicitor. Is there a way, because obviously some billboards are grandfathered in.
Not
Is there-
necessarily, none of them I don't consider grandfathered, I could be wrong on the law and have to do that, because they have to get licensed every year, they're subject to changes. So I don't consider them grandfathered.
Okay, but they're owned, correct? They're leasing space, correct?
I don't know what the situation is.
Depending on the situation?
I'm talking about off-site billboards that aren't attached to the business for which they're
Okay,
advertising.
let me ask you a question. Is there a way we can restrict the type of advertisement that goes on billboards?
That's a different question, that's sort of a content thing, or a
Yeah.
free speech thing, depending on what it
Okay.
is. So I would say that's something, I'm not aware of any towns that do regulate the content on billboards.
When you say they're issued yearly, who's doing the issuing?
That's Office of,
Department of Transportation,
Massachusetts Office of
outdoor
Outdoor
advertising.
Advertising.
So the city council's role is merely making sure that they're within a right zoning area.
Not
Why do
necessarily,
they come before us for a special permit for any reason?
that's part of, yeah, that's the process, so you get
So the
special permits
initial
to go, they both
reaction-
have to be approved.
So the initial reaction on an application comes to the city council for jurisdiction as to whether they want to have it or not, or whether they allow the special permit. And then thereafter, an activity occurs by this agency.
I don't know, I'm not as familiar with the process, I don't know if they get the permit first from the agency and then come to us and ask for the special permit, or they get the special permit from us and then go to the
Yeah.
agency and say, about a special permit.
They get it from the city first.
Yeah, so I'm not even
Right,
familiar
then
with
they
the
apply.
process that well.
Can I address something? At the beginning, I talked about us being bold. You know, one of the benefits of, as I get older, I have some time, so you can look at how people do things, how cities do things, and watch how they grow and change their thought process. And not only cities, but you see states do it. In the United States, there are 4 states that restrict and prohibit billboards totally. Colorado, Vermont, Maine, and Hawaii. They arbitrarily restrict them. I think the last state was Maine back in '77. But beyond that, there are cities, I mean, who, if you look at one city in particular, Peabody, I watched how they evolved with their process. they had a permitting fee that would be like $25,000, up to $25,000 for specific billboards, $20,000 for others. But I think what they did was eventually they looked at what the true cost was to the community. And now, on July 18th of this year, 2017, they put in a new ordinance that, I can read you the ordinance, you can go online and tell you the exact section, that prohibits, they eliminated the billboard sign section, section 11.6. They repealed it in its entirety, and then they moved it to 11.8 under prohibited signs, and added and amended any static or digital billboard, any additional face to an existing billboard structure or billboard monopole. So they're really, they looked at the experience of what they had, from my understanding. And I think the vote was a solid vote, right? Total vote. So that's something that if you could look into the results of that afterwards. That was in July 18th.
There are towns that don't allow billboards at all.
Right.
And
So
they're
you
not-
can do that, but I think we're at a number now. We can't, see, this is an education for me too, because I remember working with the former counselor of Ward 2.
Kimmel.
No, your ward, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Steve
Reed.
Reed.
We spent almost 2 years back and forth. And we started with I think our final part was, we had worked on the TED district, just limiting to the TED district. But it was a son of a gun. I mean, I've got the copy, going over and over, where can we put it, and whether or not it would comply, with the state laws. Very, very complicated. But I think you have to really look at this issue and say, no, we're not gonna do this anymore. We're not gonna have any more billboards in this city.
Okay.
We're not gonna have any more digital nor static. You've got, on the books right now, you've got 6 digital billboards that this council has approved, and you've got the rest of the billboards. So I think we just have to stand up for once and say, no, we're not gonna have any more. We're gonna prohibit any more billboards in this city. And the way it's worded is prohibit. They're prohibited in the city. That way they can't have them anymore. There was a question that you had raised about, well, what do you do if somebody comes in and wants to, as what happened, it was beneficial to us, changed they wanted to get rid of 2, and, you cut a deal with them, you get 2, 4 there. But I think, and this is long thought out in my mind, because I was one of the guys who presented that issue along with Councilor Zambudo. I think it's a great idea. But I think we have to solve the problem right now. The main problem, the biggest problem is that there will not be any more billboards. And if you want to make a deal for something, changing something in the future, then that can be done. But I think the issue is we cannot allow any more billboards in our city, whether static or digital. And if you want to change the law, then change it. But we have to find a common ground and say, this is where we're going to go from this point on. And I think that's the boldness that we need in this city. Because it was a growth process to me, looking at the city, all over the city, where you could put them. You have to be very careful, too, because some signs, especially on the state roads, they have to be 1,000 feet apart. And so, you could limit, you would put it in such a way that I don't think that would be proper, because somebody would end up suing you if you came down and put it where they couldn't put a pole. It's impossible. I was looking at McClellan Highway in particular, that area down there by the tanks. So, but I think we just have to stand up and say, no, that's it.
Is that a possibility?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's the best case
But
scenario.
that's all for future. That's for future poles. What about the poles we got now?
He said they're not grandfathered.
Yeah, but how do you get them, to take them out?
Listen, at the end of the day too, I'm not looking, I think that there are plenty of people that this is their living. People have made a livelihood off of owning these properties. So to sit there and say to, maybe the large corporations that own these billboards, we don't necessarily feel bad for them. But there are some small time people that they have made a living, raise their families off this property. So you can sit there and say tomorrow that their properties now are virtually worthless. To take it away from them, I don't think is the right thing to do. To prohibit future billboards from popping up, I think is a good start. And to take a harder stance at when the permits come up for renewal and making sure that these properties are conforming, and not like the one that you have in your ward counselor, that you obviously know is an eyesore, or they're not conforming to what we expect. Those are the ones that you can probably take a step-by-step approach and go after.
The annoying part of that, Patrick, is that Clear Channel is a big player in the marketplace. And so to allow for such a deplorable condition to exist, because it's Revere, that is absolutely unacceptable. That's the part that bothers me. It's not a little two-by-four store. It's not a little mom and pop store. It's a big conglomerate, and it's a big company that's allowing this to take place.
I'd like to see something here too also, even like, the huge, billboard on Ashley Avenue. I mean, it's like across the street from.
It's literally in someone's yard.
I mean, really, I mean.
That was put in before the houses were there.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but I mean, I wish there was a way, I mean, I could see it from my backyard. I mean,
And that's not even a
all
clear
of us
channel.
on Upper Sergeant Street, that's what they look at.
And it's not even clear channel.
We also have to keep in mind, taking these billboards down isn't gonna be a silent
No.
process. It's gonna be,
Forget it.
a very complicated situation for the residents and the neighbors in that area as well.
Well,
It's
I
not
don't think
gonna
the
be-
neighbors will have any problem.
No, but I'm saying that the demolition of the billboard, it's gonna be an inconvenience if you're a neighbor within that.
It will be an
Vicinity.
inconvenience for a short period.
Yeah, for a short period.
Period.
We would obviously have to send out
That's a big-
letters, that's,
on-
you know.
That's on a big plot of land there. that,
I will tell you,
Residential.
Well, that goes back to my question. So is the land owned where the billboard stands, a standing billboard, or is it rented? Typically, it's a mix, right? Some are leased and some are
they're
owned.
owned by,
Well, there's socio in the property.
and they're leased, there's a mix of
Then it's
owned and
owned.
leased.
That's why it's not gonna be as easy to walk up to this is a business for some people. And yes, I don't feel bad for the Clay Channel store, but let's just use a person like Socio. Family run business for many years, and they happen to have two
Four.
websites, four billboard
Four,
sites.
yes.
And you know what, they were smart at some point in time, many years ago. So to go up to them and just say, oh, by the way, we're gonna take away the right for you to have a billboard tomorrow, isn't an easy pill to swallow, and I would doubt very much, I think Frank, our city attorney actually would probably be tied up for many years having to deal with that.
Well, I think he's subsidizing his money by putting a truck terminal there now,
Well,
so.
I'm not sitting there saying that I know him or anything like that, but
I'm just saying that he's got about 4 or 5 big, huge
Well, it would be
trucks there.
similar to asking a homeowner, listen, your satellite on your house is an eyesore, take it down. You know, which, a little bit, it's their, if they own it, it's personal,
You know,
tangible
we
property, so.
can go into so many different avenues, you know, and I like, you know, what Ron was saying about let's attack the initial part of it first, and then branch off,
I would love
and then
to see
branch
no
off from there.
billboards, that would be, I was gonna present that, but I thought it was kinda a little harsh, I didn't realize that the council
Can
wanted
you
to go
repeat
that
that?
bold, and it was fine, all in.
Frank, can you repeat that?
No, these are for new, this would be for new billboards.
yes, for future.
See, now, and
I didn't hear what you said.
I'll just branch off and
No,
say,
Totally
just
in
branch
favor
off
of
and
that.
say, what if? Whether it be for Sozio or Clear Channel or some of the other ones that have popped up. Say, I want to convert one from a static to a digital.
No.
Well,
Okay,
no.
but if it's already there, at that point, we have a little leverage. Now they have to come in for approval from us. We can say to them, okay, take down 1, 2, 3, 4
Right,
around the city. That's the only way, I think, that we can get rid of them.
but the,
I agree, because I think Ron would agree with me, being on the beautification committee as I was. We want to enhance the beauty of our
Yeah,
city.
absolutely.
Digitals are more
Yeah.
appealing than those
Right.
old rusted billboards.
absolutely.
But we should be on the
Let-
deal.
Let me just say
But they're
this.
also,
A distraction,
Yeah.
absolutely.
and, you know, I mean, if you put, so if you're taking one down and it's right in the middle of a highway, then, I mean, that would be a distraction to drivers. I always
Excellent
look
point.
up, and I'm reading while I'm driving, I'm reading whatever's going on.
Actually, Councilor Janino brought that up at maybe last year about coming off, Squire Road, that exit ramp. There's a
You're right
digital
there.
screen, yeah.
Well, I will tell you, all new digital billboards that are adjacent to a highway, Mass DOT requires a traffic
Study.
impact analysis to be done before they permit them.
But, there's the old saying, addition by subtraction, if we did have the opportunity, one, to prohibit any future billboards, and then down the road, over the course of time, to be able to reduce the number from every time someone comes in with one. And this would be upon special approval. This isn't a statute that we would set. But if someone comes in and says, we have three, we just want to convert one to digital, get rid of the other two, I mean, I think that the net gain would be beneficial to the
Right.
entire city.
But I agree with you, but I think you have to address what we're talking about first. And then in the future, if that does come to be, then you address it. Here's, if I could just, when I came here tonight, this was my goal. This is my personal goal. And that's to repeal the current ordinance that deal with billboards, prohibit any additional static or digital billboards in the city Revere. I'm talking about the ones anybody changing anything or putting any new billboard, and prohibit any additional face to an existing billboard structure, or billboard monopole. That's actually what was written, I believe, in the Peabody audience, under prohibited signs. So that would, if we can address that, and then think about
Everything else.
the issue. If somebody did come up, I think it's a wise move, but that's in the future. Let it happen. But let's first get the law in place, the ordinance in place, then we can address.
I think that's something we can even accomplish at this meeting, if we can get it written up and put it in, we have to go to a public hearing.
Yeah.
But I think they would have no effect on existing structures, it would only be moved forward. So I think I think we're all in agreement, I think that's a great idea, and I think that we can get that, the verbiage for it to the city clerk. Repeal the current ordinance, it's very simple, put it in.
But you don't want to just repeal it and leave nothing there.
No, it'd be all in one,
Yeah, you want to make sure
One
you
package.
substitute
of
something.
course.
Looking at the ordinance, there are 3 sections of it. You being the attorney, section 3 I'd like to talk to you about, but the other 2 sections of them, I think they should be appealed to sign the present ordinances. I think that's the process. When you read them, the 3rd section, 15.08.030, I didn't understand that fully, the usage of that. But that's something that can be talked about later. But I would say just eliminate the billboard. But then there's a second part of it that we have to deal with, which was the issue that Councilor Gonasso brought up, and that was the issue around the maintenance, addressing the billboards in disrepair, which would have to be an ordinance in that sign section. Develop an ordinance. There is. Right,
Right,
but when you look at,
Exactly.
it's section I of, let me see if I can pull it up. It's concise, that one piece, that section I is concise. But the initial fine is useless. I think it's a $100 fine. I have it here. And then, so I was trying to play around with what other cities did, and basically, we're talking a fine a day after a while, after so many days. You notify somebody, give them 7 days. And, I have it written here specifically what another city had done.
That might be an idea, if they don't keep up with the maintenance, you can find them every single day and do what they do with a house, and you can put a lien on the billboard, and then.
If it's a nuisance, you can do it under the health code, which is what we do to lien stuff, or maybe even for you, I can find out.
Right, and after a certain amount of time, they have to.
Who would be
take
the
it
code
down.
enforcer?
Excuse me?
Who would be the code?
ISD would have to, just like they would for a building or any other house
Building
structure that was in
Building
disrepair.
inspector, inspectional
I mean, that
services.
would be a
Inspection,
great idea.
yeah, well, it would be the building inspector, usually zoning police.
So that would
just
leave all billboards in the city, which most of them are right now, non-conforming structures. Any alteration, structural change, it has to go before the city council for a special permit for alter non-conforming structure, which all billboards would be non-conforming.
Right.
Years ago, in the 80s, I remember Mass DOT had, under the Highway Beautification Act, had eliminated about a dozen billboards in the city that were adjacent to their highways. And those were right along the expressway, Route 1, cutting through Revere. A lot of them were taken down. And funds were provided by Mass DOT to take those signs, and provide the owners damages. So that was actually a taking process to take the signs down and provide them damages for the signs.
You know,
Unfortunately, that program is no longer in existence.
in the present ordinance that you have, the section, Article I of 15.08.010, it talks about, as we had talked earlier, about fining people. I believe that's the fine. Well, it starts off, services a penalty fine of $100 shall be assessed against the owner of said billboard. I mean, to start up with a fine of $100 for what's happening down there at the corner, I mean, that to me is ludicrous.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just wrote down a starting figure of 500, a second fine.
What was the average fine when you were doing your research?
Depends on what city, what town, I mean, it just changes.
Did you find in the more affluent cities there were less billboards and the fines were higher?
There are sometimes, but very, very few billboards, you know, but they're strictly controlled and strictly monitored. You know. We're fighting from the rear, and now we're just coming up to saying, look, from now on, this is the way it's going to be. And from now on, all of these billboards that exist are going to be addressed in a specific way with a specific fine, and then 7 days later, a specific daily fine, or whichever you gentlemen want to do. But I mean,
I think it's gotta be stiff enough so
I
that
think
people pay
$500
attention. I mean, you know, because if you're stopping the
I
risk
think
type of policy, it
$500
doesn't
is
work.
I'm gonna
peanuts.
say 1,000.
I think
$1,000 a day.
$500 is not a lot.
Frank, the one that's going up
Yeah,
on the,
well, they're making
Wonderland,
lots of money. They're making
stage.
$3,500 a month.
There's one, that was the last one approved by
That's not the
the
billboard.
city.
It wasn't approved by the city.
Oh, it wasn't.
Well, MBTA property, yeah.
That's their lease.
Right.
That's their lease.
So that billboard is coming down on Ocean Avenue in front of the T station.
It's
That's where the
gone.
hotel has been, it's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone. That was good to see that.
Yeah, no
Right.
kidding.
So that was one last question I had was, with this, where the MBTA property, they put it on the billboard, that was against all of our wishes, but that was somewhat grandfathered in, or that was approved through the process that was part of the deal that they made years ago when they put that money in the
Yeah,
investment.
there was a case in Somerville, oddly enough, where they tried to prevent a billboard on T property, and the courts ruled against the city of Somerville, saying that they were sort of a separate entity, that they could do
So
things
do
different.
you foresee any other instances where the state, or, some funding comes in to build a property where there would be a billboard tied into it that we couldn't stop
You know,
in the future?
if you guys tell me what you want, you guys decide what you want to do, and then we can put the wording together, and I can then, at that point, review it for legality, or whether we'll withstand any challenges should any come about. I don't want to really input my personal opinion into the whole. If I had, I was in charge, I wouldn't have any billboards at all in the city, because I just think they're ugly. And there's enough out there on the internet and stuff, and advertising, and cell phones and stuff. I feel billboards is sort of an antiquated way. I'm sure they still work, I'm sure that's why people want to do them. But I just don't like the appearance. So that's just my personal opinion. You folks decide what you want to do in terms of the ordinances. Frank and I will then work on the language and to make it as strong and as legally airtight as we can possibly make it. I think you do have a lot of discretion. I don't treat billboards to me, and then Frank mentioned non-conforming structures, which is the zoning act. Billboards are also governed by Chapter 93, which is something different, for which they have to be given a license by the outside advertising board, the Massachusetts Office of Outdoor Advertising every year. So I don't think they have the same protection as a structure that was put up as a non-conforming structure. But this gentleman, I apologize for forgetting your name already. Ron, sorry.
Yeah.
The goal is, what do you want to do? Figure out what we can do that legally, and then we'll make the language conform to that goal that you want to do. That's
Can
the,
we do something about when they transfer either the name of the property or the name of the company? Something with that, if they do transfer, because it's under the old name that they got a special permit under, and now it's under a new name. I don't know if they're transferring goes with the flow of the sale of a
Unless you
property
indicate, special condition and a special permit, the special permit runs with the land.
with the land.
Well, if a billboard if a house is sold and a billboard is attached to the real estate, that's considered part of their sale. So that would be their property.
It's an asset to the property, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like a shed.
And I recommend, real simply, that, Frank and what it would look like as restriction of future billboards in this area. And then the second piece, I think, I'm sorry, the other chairwoman, but, and then the second piece would be how we can look at restricting
maintenance.
further and/or also how we can go about actually making sure that these are held to their certain standard.
All right, so just so I understand, we want to restrict future billboards in some way. We want to be able to find existing billboards that we're allowing to be there if they're in disrepair or unsightly.
And institute and possibly increase permanent fees.
Permitting
That's
fees.
definite.
But is there, so I'm trying to understand, are we trying to do something to address the existing billboards such that we narrow that number down as well?
Maintenance.
Right,
Well, the
We wanna
maintenance,
reduce
I
the
think
maintenance.
one of the things we talked about was the maintenance. If they're not keeping up, it's the same thing with the house, if they're not keeping up, with the billboard, the maintenance of the
Possibly-
billboard, they get fined.
Like no rust.
And maybe, I don't know what the law is, but maybe a lien on the billboard, and then if they don't pay, then they have to take it down.
I just don't understand if we're prohibiting any future boards, why would we put in a application fee type thing?
But an application fee, a
Or-
renewal for existing.
So we're not looking to.
We don't have those, do we?
You're gonna have them come before you, you have had them come before you, because anytime there's an alteration, they wanna, if the structure has to be rebuilt, they have to come before the city
So it's
council.
not for
I would,
new,
Paul, I would try to find, see if we can find a way, like, maybe even remove some billboards.
Is that what you, do you want to keep the billboards we have?
No, rather not.
I would like,
Is
I
there-
wish there was a way to, take some of them down, especially like the one in ICF. I mean, Sozio was not a mom and pop operation, they got billboards in several cities.
Not got a truck terminal there.
They got, no, I mean, they got,
got
it's
everything.
all over the state, they got billboards.
So is it fair for me to say that we're looking to
And
make,
that's an area now that's on a residential street, on the street, it's actually like a house.
I think Frank said initially he wanted to limit them to the 10 district only, correct, Frank?
I think that's a
Yeah,
legal way to
we've
just,
gone
because we
further
already have
now.
a
We wanna
few.
eliminate
Yeah,
them
we're
from all
beyond that.
districts. Yeah.
We're beyond that.
Yeah.
But I think we'll be, I mean, doing some reading over the years, yeah, can it be done to remove billboards? Yes, but it's extremely costly. I mean, the courts, you'd be,
It's a taking, and it's, you know, the
yeah, I
process
mean,
is gonna
this
take.
is,
No one's gonna just
Mason,
roll
I agree with that, that's why we have to start here. I mean, we've made mistakes, but we can't in the future.
So it seems to me that the best way to approach this is to have short-term goals and long-term goals. So I think the short-term goals are dealing with future billboards and being as strict and banning, or however we can word that, as
Prohibiting, yeah.
possible to prohibit them completely, similar as PVD did.
We'll make extensions onto the billboards, as other cities in the Commonwealth, they just don't allow them.
So I think, again, that's something that's a super realistic short-term goal that we can accomplish within a meeting or two. But for long-term goals, I think that's where it comes into play, looking at what is existing in the city, and then, like we spoke about many things tonight, fining them for not keeping up with them. Well, how do we deal with it if they're converting to digital? All of those questions that are gonna come up with existing, and how to limit them and restrict them when it comes to special permits coming from council, when it comes to non-conforming issues, when it comes to not keeping up with the property, and all of those issues that are kind of looped into that facet of this.
Well, I think that you're talking, the only leverage we have is, I think the mindset that a couple of times that they've appeared before us, recent memory, is that they're going the digital fashion. So that's our only negotiating point that we can suggest to them. Okay, you give us, we'll allow a digital spot, but you remove three billboards.
I think in addition to that is that if they're gonna put a digital billboard up, that they give us some time for community.
They do.
They do.
Oh, they do?
They do.
But over and above the community
Right, so
thing,
give
I'm
10
not even
hours a
pleased
month.
with that too, because it's still a distraction.
It is.
I think the negotiating tool is to remove as many as we can. If they want to go in that vein, they want to go digital, then they have to work with us.
Definitely.
And I think that's a tool that we can use.
Absolutely, but also when we talk about maintenance, it's not only the maintenance of the sign the maintenance of the grounds below
The
us.
whole
Yeah, the
process.
Because the trees, they let the trees grow so high, or the grass grow out of control, and they're coming into our city, and they're saying, no,
Like I
the
said,
city's letting it go.
inspection services, just like if you didn't cut your grass, or you let your yard go,
Yeah.
they can fine them for that, the property owner for those same violations as they do any other property.
It's a gathering spot for debris.
You
That's
can't
what
do that
happens.
now, I don't know, I don't know if they're just not thinking about it because it's a
Aside
billboard
from
and
the
they think it's
billboard
different.
itself, I mean, if the area is not cut, it's not.
You can,
But
there's
I
nothing that
think in the
prohibits.
future, when they do go to site plan review, that's on the site plan review recommendation, that they, particularly target what they have to look at, that they're just not gonna accept it as a, if it happens type thing.
You know, I'd like to address the issue around the MBTA. Actually, there's a potential for another billboard that has not been approved. They tried to get 2 billboards, and one of them, I do not think it was approved, a digital. They're gonna put up one digital, my understanding, and the other one has not been finalized, right, at the garage. But they're enormous billboards. But I think it'll send a message. I think it's gonna send a message to other people, state government, county government, whatever. No more, come to the city first before you think about that, even though this was most likely the part of an agreement that the city made to build that structure.
Well, we can send a letter to the outdoor advertising board, the state outdoor advertising board, when all these licenses come up for the renewals, non-conforming billboards. I mean, they used to do it in the past and ask the city what billboards are non-conforming and ask for our input for the renewal permits. And we would say, we'd list all the non-conforming billboards, and we would, in a formal letter from the mayor, state that the city is not in favor of relicensing these billboards since they're non-conforming. But again, I don't know where that leaves the state advertising board. I don't know, Paul, that they were subject to the same process, so that would
I mean, they have their own
constitute a
rules and
taking.
regulations, so they follow those, but I think separate and apart from them, we can adopt our own, and they can be more restrictive as long as they don't conflict.
Is there any way we can get someone of authority from that board to come and address us and let us ask them some questions? I don't know if they would or not, but
Yeah, I suppose
why
we
not
can
ask them to come here and say, hey, listen, this is what we want to do, can we, can't we, what can we do, et cetera, like that.
Would it be appropriate to
Yeah.
invite the big players of the billboards to come before us in an informal session before going to the council and asking them, this is what we have in mind. Is it interesting to you? You want to remove a couple of billboards? We'll give you the digital place and
Well, that's
bring the message to them,
Yeah.
rather than us wait for them to come before us.
It also depends on what you want to do. Do you want to keep some billboards, you want to get rid of all of them? So
Well, no, well, in the same vein, you're in a negotiating
Do we have the ability
tool,
to
so you have to
negotiate
give
as
some
the
room to
council?
get some room.
Do we have the ability to negotiate as the council? I thought
Sure, I think we
You
do,
have in
why
the
not?
past, yes.
Yeah, why
I
not?
thought we
I
don't.
can
We have
remember
in the
specific
past.
cases where three non-conforming billboards were taken down and removed by a company for them to place one.
Absolutely, I think it's very
I thought we
doable.
didn't
Yeah,
have
we
the
have,
power to
we have plenty of room to do
And
that.
the choice of what billboards to remove should be the council's choice. So that, like on the Linway, I mean, somebody talked to me about a billboard potentially down there. Now, that's not near this is, somebody had mentioned potentially putting them down there. So that could be, you could make an agreement to take 2, take the ones on Astor Ave, or whatever you choose to do, or the one that's at the corner of Revere Street and Broadway.
I think at least it's a bargaining tool. At least it gives us an
Yeah.
opportunity to get in the same
Right. table
and say, this is a conversation we'd like to have with you. Are you interested?
Right.
And, if they say no, well, then we know,
Yeah.
we just have to deal with what we have to deal with.
I think we should adopt an ordinance first before we
Yeah.
negotiate.
We need that ordinance. Let's
We
get
definitely need
solid.
And then we can invite them to the
Then
table
afterwards-
for conversation.
Then negotiate.
I think that's a good way to go.
So we can summarize this. What are our action items going forward for the next meeting?
You want to restrict future billboards, so we want to have some sort of language of an ordinance that restricts the future billboards around the parameters that you guys all recommend.
We have a section in the ordinance on prohibited uses. We can simply put billboard on standing signs under that section,
Okay.
which is
It has to
prohibited.
say static and digital. It has to say static and digital. And also the issue around, that I mentioned about the monopole, the issue around prohibiting and any additional face to an existing billboard, so that they can add on anything to that, any billboard structure or billboard monopole, so that they can't add on to what exists. I mean, I can show you what I have, if you're interested.
Maintenance,
And the-
Jessica?
I just don't know if someone already has one, how we can restrict their changing of the facing of it.
Well, they're adding, that's what, they're adding on another, a billboard is one side.
Well, you're talking
They
about the
can-
bifold.
Right, the monopole,
Yeah.
on the ball, they could add another one. So you just restrict them, they can't do anything like that. I mean, that's common sense to me, but evidently somebody must have tried.
They still
it.
have the right to go before the city council for a special permit.
Right.
Because it's not
You
conforming.
can't say no,
Yeah.
Say no.
can't stop
Yeah,
them, but
yeah.
we have
For
the
that, they
council
can
to make
apply.
that decision.
But
If the
now
council
you've got
has
the
strict criteria for what they will allow and not allow,
Yeah.
then that gives us more.
And I think that's kind of crucial too, that the council has the proper ordinance behind it, so if we do deny it, we're not liable legally. So I think that's gonna be the key, is how to make this as airtight as possible, so if someone comes before the council for a situation like that, and we vote against it as a special permit, we have to have the legal background behind it, and say this is why we're denying it, so when it goes to court, which
And we
probably will.
we cite the ordinance in the comments, we cite the ordinance in the decision, so
Right.
when you go to court, they know exactly what we're referring to.
Exactly. So, for the first one, I have to restrict the current use. Second is to deal with maintenance
Maintenance and fining.
and finding
And fining. And then,
for existing.
On maintenance, who checks the structural integrity of the billboard itself? Is
Building
it
department.
The building
the building department? Is that regularly done, or is that done at all? Probably not,
Probably
right?
not.
Maybe that's
Correct.
something we can include?
well, I think that has to do with maintenance.
Well, maintenance could be enhancements, rust, or
Well, I
checking the
I
actual.
think all those
integrity,
words should be put in the
Structural integrity.
in the ordinance, under maintenance as an IE,
Yeah.
such as,
We can
A list.
require, maybe yearly, that a structural analysis be undertaken for every billboard in the city.
There
you
Submitted
go.
to the building department.
Exactly.
there you go.
Do you require a fee for it to be done too?
Yes.
But it has to be, you know, maybe
Included in the
the same way, think about it.
Maybe
like,
included in the permit fee, that's a good
Permits.
idea.
Well, think about it too, say you own a restaurant, you put a scale in, right? Inspection service has to check weights, measures, all the scales.
Right.
What if it has the same inspection for the billboard?
And they have to pay for
a
those.
fee,
They have to pay
they get
those
a
fees
sticker or
too.
some sort of something that says this billboard was inspected by the building department once a
Right.
Good
year.
idea?
Good idea.
So yearly inspection similar to weights and measures?
I think a lot too in the health department, violations for high grass around billboards. I mean, I think if a billboard company had to go out and make sure that the grass was cut right to a lawn height every couple of weeks, I think that might encourage them to get rid of them.
Well, that's what the solicitor said, to include that in part of the language, this way we can find them and continue to find them if they don't maintain the property surrounding the
And
billboard.
then if they didn't pay the fines, we could wind up taking the boards, and taking them down.
So restricting future maintenance of current, yearly inspections of current. Fourth would be letters on behalf from the city council and from this committee to Moa, if you will,
We have one more?
and we can coordinate with the mayor's office, if perhaps the mayor would do one from, we can coordinate with the mayor, the council, this committee. We can even probably talk to our state delegation, see if it's something that Rep. Vincent and Senator Markori and Speaker Delaney would be interested in backing us on as well, because I think their input would be definitely something valued, I think that would catch their attention.
Yeah. And also the newspapers, let the newspapers know the progression we're making. And this is tremendous advertisement for the city. You know, we're going, you got that? This is a Boston Globe article. I think it is.
And I think it's setting a precedent for communities around us too. We're surrounded by several other urban communities that this impact, so they can see how tough the years being.
Yeah,
I think we can set a precedent.
We're trying to improve the aesthetics of the there, and this is the way, this is a great first step.
I agree.
So,
So I have 4 action items from this meeting. and I think this tackles the first major piece of this, which is what we can tackle firsthand, get on the books immediately and deal with the future. And then we can also look at current things on the books and address those with some of the things we discussed today. So perhaps, Brexton Junior Public, we could work on maybe a draft that we can look at during our next meeting that we can review. And then hopefully after we review it as a committee, we can present it to the council. Great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Now,
What-
excuse me, what would be the timeframe on actually getting a vote on this thing?
I think the timeframe is, November 8th is the end of the moratorium.
No.
Oh, was it March?
Yeah.
It took several months from when it actually was voted on by the council until the mayor signed it. So it's from the date that the mayor actually
It's March, I
signed it.
think it's in March.
Yes, we have a good amount of time.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, as far as getting the ordinance changed and
Got
approved.
5 months.
You want to say within a month, we can have something
Sure, we can try.
Well,
drafted?
Well, you realize you have to have, 2 weeks before the November hearing.
Yeah, so
Well,
we'll
this
have
is-
a list of.
This is not for here, this is just a draft to
Right.
before us.
But I
so
mean,
we
what
can-
about the hearing? You know, how much,
Yeah.
do you think we can have a hearing in November?
How many more meetings the council
There's not a lot
have the
more
calendar
meetings,
year?
It'll be two in November, the 13th and the 28th. The 28th would have been the hearing night.
Yeah, that's 28.
And then, I don't know what you're gonna do in December, 2 meetings in December, but
You
you gotta realize we're
Before
signed
the
die,
18th.
we're signed die in the last Monday of this year, in December.
So realistically, they'll have to report the council by Monday, November 13th.
Yeah, because you need those 8 days of advertising,
Yeah.
2 weeks
Which is,
prior to the 28th. 13th would be the date we'd have to start advertising, I believe.
so to hear before the meeting on the 27th.
Fourth might be off on this one, so.
No, for the public hearing, so if we put it, if we present it to the council on the 13th and vote it to go to a public hearing on the 27th,
That's correct.
is that
Yeah,
realistic?
That's normal, yeah.
No.
Yeah,
It's more over.
Have a meeting,
There's a couple
have a
of
meeting on the 13th and then
Work on this.
forward it to the
Easy we can do.
committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't we plan
You could
another?
potentially do it in December. Have an
I
approved
agree.
ordinance in December before we
Be
close
good.
So we'll
out.
shoot for the 13th, submit to the council.
'Cause I don't know if
Advertise
there's
the
gonna be any hearings in December because of the signed die.
I agree. So why don't we plan this committee meeting again, let me look at my calendar for council, I don't think there are any subcommittees planned on the November 13th meeting, so perhaps we could meet at 5 o'clock in this chamber on the 13th for our committee? Does that work for everybody? All right, so 5 PM on 11/13. The zoning subcommittee on billboards will meet again to review final edits from Frenchie and Paul Casey that we presented to us to work on. So we can, our goal is to have it before the city council meeting on the 13th.
If we're meeting the 13th before the council meeting, we're gonna submit it to the council.
Oh, you're right, no, we have to meet on the 6th.
You know, and let me say,
Oh, yeah.
just because we normally have our hearings on the 4th Monday of a month,
We don't
doesn't
have-
mean we can't call for a special hearing like the first Monday in December.
Will people be
And
meeting on the
vote-
6th,
and
the
vote
day
it.
before the election, or is that like?
No,
That would be a good
So,
time.
you know, I think we have, we have a little flex because we don't have that 1 week
Jessica,
delay.
do it the
Because it's not a
13th,
special
and then,
permit, it's an ordinance change.
Address it to the council.
So we could vote on that the same night that we, of the hearing.
Yes.
So in which case, we'd still meet on the 13th and then,
If we don't meet the last Monday in November, we can talk to the president about telling the clerk to have the hearing on the first Monday in December.
December 4th.
And we can vote on it the same night.
well, bearing in mind, you have 8 councilors here already, so you're only
Well,
talking
let's
2
have
more
it.
councilors joining us for the vote. So I think we have a good,
So I think we can pull this off before we sign die.
I think so too.
Okay, so
I think the
then,
sooner than later, I think that this has been a long time coming. And I think Ron, yeoman's job, Ron.
Yeah.
You did a good job, and you brought it quickly to the table, and this is one that didn't have to linger so long, but because of the sensitivity of a lot of things, it's done a good job. And with 8 councilors present, you have the assurance that,
And
Things are gonna
realize
work.
this is only the first
Is
step into a lot of changes down the road.
All right, so we will adjourn on the 13th at 5 PM in hopes of getting this to the council by the 27th.
Yes,
That's very realistic.
I do too.
Great job. Kim Poe, congratulations.
good job.
Congratulations to the city.
6 years of hard work.
It's gonna be great.
6
We'll
years.
adjourn this meeting.